A couple of years ago, I was selected to be the cover of a business magazine due to my labor in foment gender equity in the corporate world. At that time, 12 years ago, I used to be a trainee in one of the biggest cosmetic companies in the world. As any other trainee, I used to do all the things nobody wanted to do it, and I don't even have my own desk. I had this shared desk with the rest of trainees, and we were all fighting to have a formal position into this company. If you're a trainee and you understand what I'm saying, I just have a message for you. It's completely normal. It's exactly where everybody starts. You are in the right path. It shall pass. Just keep going. So, as a trainee, one day I received in my share desk a magazine because the current human resources vice president of this company appeared on it. I remember to have a mixture of feelings because it was the first person that I actually knew that was on the cover of a magazine. And it was a big deal for me at that time. I felt a little bit envy, to be honest. I remember that I read the magazine from the beginning to the end in one shot. And I had all this idea during the day in my mind, wondering if I could be able to be in the cover of a magazine one day. With this idea on my mind, I worked very hard, day by day, overcoming obstacles, breaking the glass ceiling, and all these issues that you've heard that women had to overcome, that are completely true, believe me. And eventually, I made my way to the cover. The project that gave me this achievement is a manual that I wrote related on how to make possible gender equity in the corporate world. I'll tell you the details in a minute, but first I want to tell you what happened the day the magazine went out. I remember that I woke up very early that day and I ran into the newsstand and I bought all the copies the seller had. I felt as a peacock. I want to make a pause here because as women, usually it's hard for us to demand or to recognize ourselves when we achieve a goal. We need to change this habit. So I ran into my boss' office with the brighter copy of the magazine, and I still remembered how I felt my legs shaking while I was standing in the mark of his door office. I announced myself, followed by, "I have some news, good morning." And he was seated, giving the back to the door. He was a tough guy. And he was the kind of boss that likes to arrive before anybody else to the office. So I was decided that day to demand my recognition for this achievement, or at least I thought it might be possible. He made a sign with his hand in approval to enter, and while I was walking to his desk, I felt the need to throw the magazine and make some noise. So in my memories, I remember how the magazine flew into the air and softly lands into his desk. I think that in reality it was less dramatic, but this is the souvenir I totally have. So he turned around, he took it into his hands, he looked at me, and he asked me if the owner of the magazine is still, and he mentioned the last name. To which I proudly answered, yes, actually he discovered my project and he gave me this space. After a pause that seems eternal for me, he looked at me again and he said, "He might have a crush on you." He put the magazine back on the desk. He turned around and he continued answering his emails. For women that succeed, most of the time, people said that we achieve our goals for different reasons than our talents. Maybe for some physical advantage. Another bad habit that we need to change. At this point, I felt sad, I felt impotent, I felt with something burning inside my body. So, without second thoughts, I took the lift. I went into my boss office that happens to be the CEO of the company. And it was a perfect timing because he was also arriving to his office at that time in the morning. And I submitted my resignation. Because the article that was just published, ironically, talked about gender equity and how we implemented it into this company. So it was not coherent for me, and I was not in the mood to being treated like that for him or for anybody else. I remember that I left that building feeling more proud than how I entered that morning. Again, sometimes as women, we are scared to demand for the right treatment for us. But it is release, it feels release when you make it and when you receive the treatment you deserve. After this brave moment in my professional career, magic starts to happen. It seems that when you follow your internal voice, in return, you receive wings. The project that gave me the opportunity of being part of this cover was a manual that I wrote on how to make tangible gender equity in the corporate world. And it has 4 pillars. The first one is lactation rooms. In order to give new moms an adequate space to perform the breastfeeding procedure, because most of the time, this procedure happens in the toilet with the lid down, which is not pretty human. But also, you send a strong message to your employees that we care about their wellness. The second pillar is related with nursery rooms. You can easily make a contract with nursery rooms that are nearby the labor area, because for the parents it's easier to monitor the newborns, and this reduces the anxiety of this period. The third pillar is related with extend the maternity leave paid by the company. More than 60% of women do not return to their current jobs because they feel guilty to leave their baby. The fourth pillar is about leadership awareness talks, just to close the clamp. As simple as that was my project, and it seems that about gender equity, we all have good intentions but non-actions. This project already gave me 3 doctorate honoris causa, pure magic. If I wouldn't leave that building that day, maybe the project wouldn't become as strong and as transcendent as it is today, at least for me. After several implementations of this project, one day, the love of my life and we realized that we were expecting a baby. This is a baby that will be delivering in 1 month. It's not tacos, believe it or not. And I truly believe that this guy is going to bring the last piece of the puzzle for this project. And I'm not going to be afraid to complement it, change it, or see what happens. Because suddenly I became my own client. I really insist that if you have a leadership position in the corporate world, you need to take care of this issue. Believe me, you will change lives. And in the worst case scenario, at least you will sleep well. Thank you very much.